Will hydration breaks turn soccer more into basketball? The massive American watch parties set to take off. And how did the men's team look in our first look at the first warm up game? That and more on today's edition of Morning Kick Around. Hello and welcome to the show that talks about the ever-changing American soccer landscape. My name is Robert Kerr, local soccer guy, and to my side, radio soccer guy Jason Davis. How you feeling?
It's Monday. We are, 10 days away from the kickoff of the World Cup. Rob, it's here. It's finally almost here. I talked about the national team on the radio last night. I got my radio schedule. If you follow me on Blue Sky, you may have seen an image I posted on my Blue Sky account. I think, Rob, you saw that, right? You saw the image that I posted that kind of reflects what I've got coming up at the World Cup, or did you not see that?
I didn't see that, so I'm as intrigued as all the viewers here. I'm curious what you're cooking up here in this possible bonus.
No, the bonus is different. That's later on. There is a potential. Okay, there's a members-only segment of the show at the end of our regular hour, where your friend Jason is going to have something to say, probably a little bit animated, possibly with a couple of four-letter words, about the content creation world around the World Cup and some of the things I've seen already, and we're not even there yet. But what I was saying is, over on Blue Sky, I posted an image to kind of give people an idea of what I've got coming up for the World Cup, right? Because obviously I'm working on Sirius XMFC during the World Cup, in addition to doing Morning Kick Around with Rob whenever possible, hopefully all the time, hopefully every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But have you looked at the schedule for the games that are coming up, Rob? The number of games that we've got, Rob? This is what I put up on Blue Sky.
There you go. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling, honestly, with my local schedule. I worked 3 games over the weekend, and in thinking of the prospect of what you put on screen here is daunting, and that's part of why on Wednesday we're doing the MK Ultra correspondent draft to help us out a little bit.
Yeah, we should get into that. We should talk about the correspondent draft. I think you want to start the show proper and then maybe get into that a little bit. But I just wanted to share this because I was like, oh, the World Cup's coming. It's going to be so much fun. Oh, my God, there's like 5 games a day at points, and I'm going to be doing radio shows and Morning Kick Around. And look, I love it. Like, I'm not complaining about my job. But, sometimes you're like, oh, this is a little bit daunting. I'm not going to see my family. I do my show from my house, and I'm still not going to see my family for 5 weeks. It's probably what's going to happen, Rob.
Yeah, you're going to be, you should is your basement like finished? Maybe you need to like put like a toilet to one side and a kitchenette over there, and like you can be self-contained.
There's an accessible bathroom. Absolutely. There is a couch. I don't have a kitchenette. I do think I will wander upstairs. It's not a big house. I'll wander upstairs to grab food and sustenance. But yeah, that's where we're at. Look, I'm excited for it. I know, like, this is the thing about Morning Kick Around we were talking about before the show. I know that everybody is excited about the World Cup, that we have plenty of people that support this show and watch this show every day and are ultras whose interest in the sport does not go to the international level. It's not about the kind of soccer that is on display at the World Cup, particularly when we live in a world where FIFA is really messing with our enjoyment of this. So we're going to find unique ways to interact with the World Cup and still do the kind of show that a lot of people have come to expect from Morning Kick Around.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that later on in the show, really hammer down on what we're asking of correspondents to get interactive on this. And I'd further note about how awesome our Ultras are. The family of MK Ultras, the network, if you will, spawned another awesome kit to the Rob Kerr collection. Dwayne from Mountain CFC linked up with fellow Ultra Luke Zagorski down there. They made a connection. They hung out down there. And yeah, thank you so much, Dwayne. It fits perfectly, and it looks good. And it was a great surprise to get at the Oakland County game. I got hooked up with Mountain CFC. So kudos and shout out to our members. It's becoming a fruitful and great network. I mean, we see plenty of folks around the country meeting up at games. I saw folks linking up in Fort Wayne and in Florida and other places through the MK Ultra Discord channel. And here on the show.
Contrary to what maybe is coming across here, we did not create this show just to get free gear from people across the soccer American landscape.
Other people are hooking each other up, not just us.
That's true. That's true. Other people are connecting. That's what we want. We want those connections not to be up towards us or to the side of wherever we are in this schematic, but to each other as well.
All right, that all aside, looking forward to the Ultra Draft on Wednesday. But on today's show, we're going to talk about the implementation of hydration breaks and the rules there and how that's going to affect the game moving forward. We're going to talk about some of the mega watch parties happening across the United States. But I think let's kick things off with our first look at the squad. So keep it locked in here. Here we go. Monday's edition of Morning Kick Around. Let's do it. Good morning. It is Monday, June 1st, the day after our first look at the American World Cup squad warm-up game number 1, USA 3, Senegal 2, and a little bit of the good and the bad represented of what this American team has when fully healthy in the forwards and the fullback department. They are capable of some electricity, but this core of defenders has some alarm bells in it.
Why do we do this all the time, Rob? Why is it necessary to go, hey, we won the game, but,
There's big buts here, though.
No, are there big buts, really? How big are the buts, Rob? Why is it not possible to look at this result and go, they looked absolutely incredible, especially for the first half hour of this game? The goal that Sergiño Dest scores off the pass from Ricardo Pepi to Christian Pulisic, which allows Pulisic to run into space, play the perfect ball across. Sergiño Dest makes a run that you wouldn't expect a fullback to make. Normally, have back three, call him a wing back if you want. Obviously, the goal from Christian Pulisic is set up by Alex Freeman taking the ball and charging through midfield. That's a center back in this setup. He plays a great ball to Ricardo Pepi, who then plays an excellent ball. And by the way, go back and look at Pepi's run to deke his defender, to deke his mark, to get into that space so he can get on the end of that pass from Alex Freeman, which then allows Christian Pulisic from a tight angle to score. We can put to rest any concerns about Christian Pulisic being so ice cold he'll never score again. That's clearly not the case. I understand there were a couple of goals that were given up. The first one comes off a little bit of a problem in midfield when you've got trying to maintain possession. Tim Ream kind of puts Jedi Robinson in a difficult spot. Robinson doesn't make a good pass. He maybe could have reversed back to Ream. He probably tries to play it ahead to Pulisic. It ends up going the other way. And there's a lack of recognition from Mark McKenzie and Tyler Adams and having to pass off Sadio Mane, who makes a run across the face of goal and gets on the end of it and scores. Now, Chris Richards didn't play in that game. He's nursing a slight ankle injury. I imagine if that was a World Cup game, Chris Richards is in that game. And I think that the defending would probably be better. I understand people are concerned because Mauricio Pochettino has named Tim Ream the captain. And based on post-game comments, seems pretty clear that Tim Ream's going to play every game that he can because he's the captain of the team. And that's where people have, oh, he's too slow. He's too slow. There are ways to deal with that, right? And again, that first goal maybe is where you can say, but the second goal is Miles Robinson being an idiot, leading to Chris Brady being an idiot, and hopefully with slightly better personnel. And maybe Miles Robinson never sees a field. I think we can all be okay with that. And Chris Brady, I don't expect him to be starting any World Cup games. I'm willing to think that goal might not happen in a World Cup match, Rob. Plus, he made 10 changes at halftime.
Yeah,
that was
definitely part of consideration for an exhibition.
That was too many games. Now, you could argue that the second half team had a massive advantage over Senegal, who didn't make 10 changes at halftime, and were obviously more fatigued than the Americans in that second half of that game. But you saw Weston McKennie do Weston McKennie things, right, in that second half, right? You saw good things happen. They created an opportunity that should have been a goal that maybe is the best move I've seen out of a Mauricio Pochettino team. And they had a couple of cracks at it and couldn't put it away. And maybe, oh my God, the finishing. But I saw way too many positives out of that last night not to think that the United States is going to be feeling good. Now, look, the Germany game could upend everything because Germany's good and when Germany's talented, and we know that. But I am encouraged by that, and I think we can leave it there.
Yeah, I would say I was pleasantly surprised. I played a little bit of catch up on this game. Worked 3 local games over the weekend, including 2 yesterday when all this was happening. And I would say I was very pleasantly surprised on the watch back. I mean, the opening of the game was absolutely electric. I'd say that's one of the best combination moves we've seen from this team in quite some time. And definitely had the crowd electrified. The pop of the crowd was very exciting to see that there was some enthusiastic folks in the house. And my opinion on this team doesn't change, though, like for the last 2 to 4 years. When Miles Robinson and Serginho Dest are in the team, they are a threat and they can produce some things, and the team really combines well going forward. At the back, those same concerns remain. And like you said, the Germany game could undo all the fun there because they can play in all sorts of ways. They can play slow, they can play fast, they can keep the ball away from you. So we'll see how the team reacts to that. But a pleasant surprise to see that the positivity and working on the front foot when all those forward elements are brought in there. But yeah, grain of salt. 10 substitutions in there. And you said you didn't think Chris Brady would see the field in any sort of a way. Who is the starter? Is it Turner?
Turner started this game. I think that was a little bit surprising because I think there's this sense that Matt Freese is the number one. I don't know exactly. Turner is still an adventure with the ball. Distribution is a question. He's the best shot stopper of the 3, but I think Matt Freese is probably more well-rounded. And I would imagine we still see Matt Freese start against Germany and lead into the World Cup as the number one. There's the problem is that Mauricio Pochettino makes it really hard to know what he's thinking. He does not do things consistently that allow you to go, yep, this is what we can expect. In fact, again, playing 2 different teams basically with Sebastian Berhalter being the only holdover from halftime makes it really tough to know who his first choice team is. Is Weston McKennie a first choice player? Because he didn't start the game, right? He wasn't in the game to start. Gio Reyna was in the game to start.
But that could be more about combinations and maybe trying to find some tandems.
But you don't know. Rob, you said it could be this, it could be that, it could be a million things.
But but he hasn't been consistent on anything.
It could be that he picked names out of a hat and said, "Okay, you guys are the starters," and then picked another set of names out of the hat. You guys are the second team.
Do you think there's that kind of lackadaisical approach, or is he being a mastermind?
I'm joking. No, I'm joking. He has a plan. I just don't know what it is, and neither do you, and neither does anybody else, except for the people that are in his inner circle. This is just how he works. Now, I'm seeing this. We talked about Tim Ream being named captain. And BSU to DCU, Poach has said he may be captain, but he may not play every game. Poach said after the game last night that he was joking when he said that. So that was put to him. Oh, you said that Tim Ream might not play every game. Oh, well, I was joking when I said that because he's the captain. He's going to play every game. Look for Tim Ream to be in every game. The question is, how do they cover for the deficiencies Tim Ream has in terms of pace? I think Pochettino respects Tim Ream and thinks he's a very smart defender. But clearly, when you are playing 3 at the back and you are doing the things that the United States does with their wing backs, and you have Tyler Adams as the only clear number 6, and then playing with a second midfielder who may be Sebastian Berhalter, because who the hell else is it? It could be Weston McKennie, who played in 2 different roles in the second half. Weston McKennie played higher in the first part of the second half, and then when Alejandro Zendejas came on, he dropped deeper to play alongside Adams, or in a combination double pivot with Adams on some level. So again, like that's what I'm saying. We don't know. And maybe Weston McKennie's doing both of those things, but we don't know. We don't know based on that friendly. What we do know is that they created a bit of momentum headed towards the World Cup.
All right, the United States men's national team continue their tune-up for the World Cup Saturday at 2:30 Eastern against the aforementioned Germany. All right, we're going to move right along and see how hydration breaks are going to affect soccer moving forward. Coming up. Next up, our World Cup coverage is brought to you now by Oakland County FC. This year, celebrating 10 years of Bleeding Purple with summer soccer in Southeast Michigan in 2026. Should I say the 4-0 for the first time? Oakland County FC has tickets available on the website, and check out the Instagram page for tons of great content up to the minute. So in that World Cup warm-up game over the weekend, we saw what might be the future of international soccer, maybe soccer in general, coaching breaks halfway through each period, kind of under the guise of a hydration break. We saw American coach Mauricio Pochettino doing something we don't normally see in the World's game, do we, Jason?
We do not. Here's a little video evidence of what went down during the hydration break last night. This is grabbed from Twitter. It's got Turkish audio, so I'm not going to bring up the audio. And Pochettino, you can hear Pochettino talking to his team, and clearly, look, as the Turkish audio uses the word. The only thing I understood from all the Turkish audio was basketball, because this looks like something that would happen during a timeout in a basketball game, right? It is very much evocative of, we've got this moment that the game has stopped. We're bringing everybody together so I can show you. All right. The reason I didn't put the audio is I'm not sure about the copyright elements, but here I will play it again and bring up the audio just a little bit so everybody can hear it, Rob. Go ahead. You wanted to say something.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say low key, kudos to the cameraman for getting in the mix. You notice how the kind of sideline staff non-confrontationally start getting in the way of the cameraman to box him out. But this is a good look.
Çünkü genelde basketbolda gördüğümüz bir görüntü bu. Molalarda gördüğümüz bir görüntü ama su molaları...
I was watching on Telemundo. All right. Telemundo, shut up. It was Andres Cantor, and I don't know who he was working with because I was doing 7 other things, but they did not talk during that clip. So you heard the Turkish announcer, broadcaster. Obviously, I'm assuming Turkey is broadcasting this game because the United States is in Turkey's group. So Turkey. You heard the Turkish broadcaster talking over this and mentioning that it looks like a basketball game. The Spanish language broadcasting in the United States did not talk over it. I don't know what TNT did or TBS or whoever did, HBO Max. I don't know what they did. But you can hear Pochettino telling this guy, that guy, hey, we should do that. You go back and listen to it if you want to try to determine what he's talking about here, because he's obviously looking at something and telling his players, in this moment, we should do this. This is the pass. This is the thing we should be doing. Now, as you said, what's unclear here, Rob, is whether this is allowed, right? Now, first, the attitude of Mauricio Pochettino. He said this after the game. I think it's very helpful for the players to see actions. It's not only to tell you what you want them to improve or what they need to do. When they see the image, it's really important now. We'll see now in the World Cup if they allow that and how are you going to do that. He's also on the record as saying he doesn't like the hydration breaks, right? He's a traditionalist in the sense that he doesn't like the idea of breaking up the game. I'm in that boat too, except for the fact that I care about the health of the players, Rob. So I don't know where you fall on the idea of stopping, because it's like 22 minutes in the game. All of a sudden we're like, oh, we're stopping the game? It's such a weird thing when you're not used to that.
Yeah, it certainly is. And it was understandable. Like, if the temperature is extremely hot for players to hydrate for safety reasons and to prevent cramping and other stoppages that pop up when you're in those hot conditions. But now that it's a mandated thing, and whether it could be a 50-degree game and they're going to take a water break at the 22-minute mark and then halfway through the second half, which is basically, a commercial break in disguise. But the fact that they implemented that at the highest level of the game during the World Cup without firm parameters on this, the team itself didn't know if it's going to be permitted during the World Cup. And then so will they add something to their guidelines last minute? And they just haven't disseminated that information to the teams. I am a little bit, I guess we talked about it before the show. Perhaps I'm a little bit more of a purist that if this was actually about purely hydration, that the players should maybe not be permitted to come to the sidelines, maybe go to the center circle as an example and have the team trainers run water out to them rather than come over to the side. That would kind of like draw the line between, is this a coaching break? Is this a TV timeout? Is this, NBA on TNT sort of thing where the coaches are, giving new instructions and whatnot? I mean, on the local game that I worked this weekend, Obviously, it wasn't mandated, but it was a hot day, so they had the water break. And both teams clearly made tactical changes with the hydration break over by the coach.
No, and this has been a thing. Like you go back to the March friendlies against Belgium and Portugal, and the U.S. was better in the first part of the game, coming out of the blocks, and then the hydration break happened,
There was a
and
change.
clearly Belgium and Portugal made adjustments, and the game shifted a bit. That did not happen against Senegal on the same dramatic level. Obviously, again, they give up a late goal just before halftime. They kind of upend some momentum. It wasn't as dramatic, but there was that. Here is the clip or the little segment from Henry Bushnell's piece at The Athletic that I grabbed this morning. FIFA's published rules don't clarify if laptops can be used to show tactical clips during the breaks or if players are allowed to leave the field of play. Laptops and tablets are allowed on the sideline in general, but per FIFA's tournament regulations, but the exact guardrails around hydration breaks are unknown. The Athletic contacted spokespeople for the global soccer governing body, but had not received a response as of Sunday night. So FIFA did, I don't know that Pochettino is like, is he creating this out of no one else has done this and he's the first one to use the laptop and then there's going to have to be a response from FIFA? Again, there's a tension in my brain or around my traditional sense of what the game should be like, which is flow through for 45 minutes. Obviously there are going to be stoppages, but they're not like this. And that thing about, okay, Pochettino is only doing what the rules allow. If the rules don't say you can't pull out a laptop and illustrate something for your team, then why wouldn't you do it? Like, it's ridiculous not to try this if you don't think there are any rules against it.
Yeah, and it's wild that there isn't cut and dry, black and white, what is or isn't allowed when they put a new rule essentially and breaking the game up into quarters and allowing for there to be possible commercial breaks. And for Americans especially who have come into the game in the last 15, 20 years when it's been more available, early 10 even, is that 45 minutes without a commercial break when you're watching entertainment is absolute gold. And there aren't very many places in our entertainment sphere that you can go 45 minutes without a commercial break. But I wanted to bring, so there's different examples in other places talking about from the Ultras, get into the chat a little bit, that in the Swiss Jordan game, the Swiss came out of the hydration break, completely different game plan and scored 30 seconds after the break. Like I said, I saw in the local game the tactics changing from long ball to short combination passes, and it's changed. And so even if it isn't a declared quarters tactically, and then now maybe literally, there could be quarters and changes of how play develops, whether it's official or not.
I don't think I saw. I mean, this is how my brain works. I have like a myopia. I was watching on Telemundo, and I don't remember seeing an ad. Maybe an ad was playing split screen because PSU to DCU is saying that that's what HBO Max, which is TBS, TNT, wherever you watched it, that's what they did. I was so focused on again the image of Pochettino talking to his team that I didn't notice if there was an ad running. Right, this would have been a clean version of the same feed. All you do see the Turkish station's logo there in the corner. So, but that would have been a clean version of that feed. And everybody had it, by the way, because I saw some people on Blue Sky saying, good job by the TNT cameras to get into the huddle and see what was going on. And it's like, no. Telemundo had that. Obviously, the Turkish broadcast had it as well. So this was like a
feed.
Yeah, world feed. Apparently, there was a world feed for this friendly or something akin to that. And everybody did this. You said, it was interesting that somebody pushed away the camera. I think about basketball, and basketball is not my sport. Like, I'm not a big basketball guy, but every time when I do check in on basketball, I think the argument would be that a camera in the huddle is part of the entertainment package, right? It's part of selling the game. Now, again, as a traditionalist when it comes to soccer, I don't love the idea of stopping the game at all for hydration break or otherwise. And I don't know if I love the idea of the tactics being changed at that level with a stoppage rather than a coach waving. You'll see a coach making numbers and waving and giving instruction to players closest to him so they can be passed along. To me, that feels more like the sport I love. But again, until there is a rule placed in the book by FIFA around this, this is going to happen.
So just to kind of like open up the dialogue to viewers and commenters, are we being a little bit curmudgeonly and trying to stick to the traditions of how a 45-minute half plays out, or does it make you more interested in a tactical sense? If you're a tactics nerd or anything like that, does this excite you that you might see the game shift in the middle of a half like it hasn't before? Like, is that an interesting twist on this, and we're just kind of like stuck in what we've watched until this point? I mean, it certainly like helps teams if they spot a weakness and actually gives them an opportunity to accelerate. That usually those sort of instructions and changes always have come at halftime. So, there's almost like 4 chapters, which team can analyze the weakness and shift accordingly. Perhaps that's like kind of opens up a new nerddom. I mean, we've seen tactics coaches, or actually specifically set piece coaches, be introduced to the game, like with the long throws coming in, and then different tactics of like Arsenal did a lot more with corner kick routines and stuff. Are we going to see the rise of like the tactical helper? Jurgen Klopp was famous for having some very shrewd eyes in the sky and adjusting while they were at their prime, and they were kings of adjusting at halftime. But now you could do it after 20 minutes rather than waiting till 45 in. Just, I guess that we'll see how it all plays out, and continue the conversation, guys, in the comments after the show or as we go. And if anyone has any takes on that, does that excite you that there's going to be more tactics in the game? And then we shall see how if FIFA implements any guidelines on the laptops as things go. But Mauricio Pochettino, a game changer maybe with the basketball coaching break.
One more thing on the tactics, just because I want to respond to that. Well, I'm sorry. There's somebody just put in a comment, and we want to be responsive to the ultras, right? Riverside Grove, did you notice the U.S. using the ish strategy of kicking it out long out of bounds? Off of kickoffs, the United States was just playing for field position. Now, yes, I know you're saying it's ish, but it works. And the U.S. pressed off of that field position almost immediately and created a chance, I think, in the first minute or so, or created opportunity to get in on goal in the first minute or so via a turnover in the Senegal half. So that's not going away, guys. That's not going away.
No, it doesn't seem like it. Apparently, who knew that your own throw-in is more likely to turn into the other team's possession than just passing it to your teammate? Who would have thought that? But World Cup coverage here on Morning Kickaround is presented by Oakland County FC, celebrating 10 years on the field in Southeast Michigan. Bleeding Purple, OCFC are out to their best USL start ever. 12 points out of 12 for the men in purple. Check them out on Instagram, or for tickets, go to Oakland County FC's website. All right, we got more to come. We're talking about FIFA Fan Fest and Dallas's Atletico Dallas's stadium plan down the line. Stick with us here on Morning Kickaround. Across the country, communities and cities are planning watch parties in the ways that have been permitted. There's, a lot of different cities that have downsized or kind of had some delay in the approvals from the power that be to really do their festivities in full force. But there's a pair of big cities that we're going to highlight now that declared big plans, and they're following through on them. Seattle getting the most headlines, I'd say, with something I don't know if we've seen too many times, a floating barge mini pitch watch party extravaganza on the water there in the Northwest.
So you know that we love a good rendering here on Morning Kickaround. We're rendering addicts. Like, it's impossible for us not to get excited about a rendering. Now, generally speaking, that is a stadium situation. We like a stadium rendering, right? Something that shows where the games are going to be played, thousands of people gathered around. This is not that. This is a barge. That's what it is technically, right? It's a barge.
It looks like a barge. Barge, now, it's very narrow.
This is not a FIFA celebration. This is not a FIFA run fan fest. There are FIFA fan fests, and we will talk about one or two of them. But you can see the logos. This is the Seattle Sounders and the Seattle Reign getting together for a soccer celebration, right? This is the local teams putting something on for their fans. Oh, you don't know.
Well, I was just gonna say I was trying to compare it to some other ones at the time, but hey, man, you have a lot of thoughts on these things. So I was letting you do your thing, but yeah, not our typical rendering. And I was looking up some of the prices, and I was just trying to, in my mind, compare, does the price equal the experience here? So we're looking at Seattle, the floating watch parties. Lavono seems to be the primary sponsor behind this. And at this Seattle floating watch party, fans and partners will be able to watch games on the unique floating mini pitch located near Seattle's waterfront park, where fans can watch on massive LED screens, watch the broadcast with fellow fans and supporters, music, food, drinks, and interactive fan experiences. I'm not sure how the VIP area says it has like unencumbered views of that giant LED screen. And I'm not sure. It seems like small and narrow enough to where I think everyone could watch it. But at the same time, it's a mini pitch. When are you ever going to play if people are watching? Because the playing surface looks like it's viewing.
I'm a little confused by that too. I mean, you're not playing during games because that's the whole point, is that people are going to be gathered in that space to watch the game.
Okay, so I have prices on. I looked up two games, the USA Turkey one, which this experience is sold out. And for general admission, it's $52. And then the VIP experience is $350. And I'm curious if that, I mean, there's a uniqueness factor, but are you getting the bang for the buck of being on a barge in the water to watch it? I mean, maybe those, the VIP experiences are those kind of cabanas along the side, those little huts.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But those, I mean, is that $350 for watching a game on a big screen worth it?
I don't know. The prices of this stuff, I mean, there are free, and I'm looking at a story from Sounder at Heart. Shout out to our guys, Sounder at Heart, covering soccer in the Pacific Northwest better than anybody. There is a story that they have on the fan festivals that are happening, the free fan festivals in Seattle. I think there are 4 of them: Seattle Center, Pacific Place, Waterfront Park, Victory Hall. So this is one option, right? This is one thing that is available to people to go and gather for the World Cup. And maybe you do want that outside experience. Maybe you do want to be on the barge and just have that unique thing. I'm glad there are options. Like, I don't know that I would pay $350 to go out and sit on a barge in a cabana or in a covered area and watch on a screen. I don't know. But
I mean, collective experience is what we're all after, right? At the end of the day, whether it's, in our living rooms, at a watch party, at the game, experiencing the pinnacle of the thing that we love with other people, I mean, is really what we're seeking. I mean, this is putting a high price tag on that. And this is something, we want to go big, even though there's a lot of like news that have kind of dented people's enthusiasm to a degree. To be fair, I'm being a little bit critical of it. But you're never going to forget that experience, I guess. Like, remember that time 10 years ago when we went onto that barge thing and watched the game? I mean, that's something to hold on to, I suppose.
Yeah, look, and again, like I think there's this sense, I mean, this is the thing. We want the World Cup to be accessible. And the tickets are already out of our reach, most of us, right?
Yeah.
We can't afford the thousands of dollars it takes to go watch games. And, we talked to Travel Football Fan last week, and it's not obviously just the tickets. It's also the travel cost. You got to pay for hotel and airfare if you want to go see a game somewhere else. If you have a particular team you want to see and you don't live in that town, like if you're in LA and you want to see the US play, you can buy a ticket to SoFi, go watch them play Paraguay. Great. And watch them play Turkey in the finale if you want. Great. At least you'll have those options. But if you don't live in LA or you don't live in Seattle to see the US play, you got to travel out there. I live near Washington, D.C. Like, am I going to get on a plane, travel to Seattle, travel to L.A., spend what it costs to stay in a hotel there for at least a couple of nights, and spend the thousands of dollars it takes to watch my team play? That's a big question for a lot of people. So how do you engage with the World Cup? And it should be a countrywide celebration, right? It shouldn't just be limited to host cities. and I know there are going to be watch parties in other places, and that's really down to the local soccer organization, whether it's a youth club, a professional team, whatever, to put something together. Restaurants and community organizations will do that. The business community of a particular town might do that. So that, I just want people to be able to engage with it. Look, and by the Big Lake, $350 is way too much for not watching a game in person. I would agree with that, but
Yeah.
again, maybe somebody wants the unique experience. I don't have a picture of it, but we do have we were talking about Kansas City earlier, you and me, and just to give you an idea. So GA, the general admission for the Kansas City FIFA Watch event, the fan festival at the National World War I Museum and Memorial, is free, right? You have to register in advance. And by the way, I went to see it like, oh, can I go to the FIFA website and see what the ticket prices are? Nope, got to register. You can't just see the ticket price. You got to register, give them your email and your information and the name of your firstborn child before you're allowed to register for the free GA ticket. But if you want to pay to go to the free fan festival, you can. A premium garden pass is $55. That's expedited entry. So this is like the people who pay for the front of the line access at the amusement park. Which, by the way, game was gone when that happened. I get, like, people want to be able to skip the line, but once you give people the option to pay to skip the line, and now the plebes are sitting there going, hey, I don't want to pay $150 extra for this opera. Anyway, $55 for the garden pass, expedited entry, exclusive standing room viewing, premium restrooms. So premium restrooms and a dedicated bar. Legacy Lounge includes all premium benefits plus access to an air-conditioned lounge, 2-tiered viewing structure, all-inclusive food, and a premium beverage package. Right? So this is the club level at the soccer game. You're paying $225 to go watch a game on a screen, but have access to the bar and the food.
And the bathroom.
And then there's and the bathroom. And then I'm probably not using the porta potties, right? You're using an actual
It's probably one
bathrooms.
of those trailers, because I don't know if you've ever had to upgrade at like
Yes.
a sporting event or a concert or something. They have like kind of the upgraded like kind of
I've been to breweries that like, oh, we don't have enough bathrooms for everybody inside the building, so we have that trailer, like you said, that like it's an elevated bathroom experience but in a trailer. Yeah, that is absolutely a thing. I don't know, man.
So to be clear, gone are the days where there's a big video screen in a public square and you kind of just stroll up and watch and come and go as you please.
I don't want to compare, but this is obviously just part and parcel of the extraction of capital from Americans when it comes to the World Cup. In fact, I don't have it in front of me, so I apologize. It's a little bit of an anecdotal thing, but I do remember seeing that the Los Angeles Fan Festival, one of the Los Angeles Fan Festivals, you could pay for the shaded area.
Oh my God. So the pores sit out in the sun. That's
Exactly.
outrageous. That's outrageous. It's like,
yeah,
Mr. Burns will block out the sun for you, but it'll cost you.
Yeah, I mean, look, there will be free options, right? You don't have to go to the FIFA branded event. I know here in DC, there's going to be a big thing on the National Mall that is going to be FIFA branded. I kind of want to go check it out. I'm going to see if it works with my schedule to at least see what's going on down there. I don't know that I want to engage with it as a fan. Like, I don't know if I want that to be my viewing experience. Right? I mean, this is the thing. It smacks of this. Basic things taken away and sold as a luxury experience. It's like, I gotta pay $50 to bring my rollerboard on the plane. That's the way it is now, right? It's the same idea. Like, oh, am I gonna have to pay for a seatbelt on an airplane? Eventually you might have to. I don't know. In this case, you have to pay for shade in some places. I mean,
I remember there was a
is
concept of the bus seating on airplanes where you like stand in the aisle and hold a railing. One of the discount airlines was talking about.
No, that cannot be legal. The seatbelt thing cannot be legal either. We can't get that far, right? Like, oh man. All right. Anyway, let's not turn it into that.
I've seen a lot of dystopian sci-fi, and anything's possible when we go down these alleys. But this was supposed to be get excited sort of a segment. The reality. No, but that's the case. Is like the reality of actually once you read the things, you get a little despondent though. But part of what might be cool in Kansas City is the length of their going. They're doing a full month
Yes.
of events. That is cool in its own right. June 11th through July 11th. And they have a myriad of musical acts, which I don't know if you're paying for the big musical acts to come there, or if the musical acts are there to kind of justify spending money on it. But if you're a soccer fan and love Chainsmokers and Flo Rida, the Kansas City Fan Fest is there for you. But
let me address something. Yeah, okay, go. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say I saw some comments that there is still some public square events. There is going to be a mix and mash, but it kind of like changes the whole kind of DNA of an event. Like there's some of elevated paid for things and some free things still. That's what I was saying, of a mishmash of the way the events are being presented and ticketed, so to speak. But once you throw in a paid element, to your point, is once you make a paid element, it kind of prioritizes one group over another, which doesn't seem to be the spirit of what this should be.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, again, this doesn't seem to be an event for the people. This seems to be an event for people willing to pay. That's what it is. It's not an event for everybody. It's not a celebration of soccer. And yes, of course, it would cost you something to get in the building to watch a game. Should it cost you? I mean, again, like, do you want to go to the FIFA event and pay for the premium bar experience and the food and all that stuff and the air conditioning? I guess. But again, it's just separating the fan bases. It's separating people from one another in what is supposed to be a communal experience, and that is frustrating. I do want, as we finish this up, Rob, I do want to address something from the chat. There's lots of talk about the MLS on Apple numbers that came out last week. Simon Evans of the Soccer Business reported on that. I'm seeing a story from Sportico on that. So, because we want to be responsive to the ultras and to the viewers, I think maybe we'll tag that on here. Let's do a little bit on our next story, and we'll come back and we'll talk MLS Apple TV numbers.
All right, let's come right back and talk about a little bit. Stadium under construction. What will a USL team do when they move into a bigger building? That's coming up here on Morning Kick Around. Soccer under construction here on Morning Kick Around, a team that we followed from launch in Dallas, Atletico Dallas, a proposed 2027 launch date for the USL Championship side in Dallas. Their new home, we know, is the Cotton Bowl, a huge stadium there. I think it's 90,000 capacity type stadium. And, they've been doing a lot of work to get people excited about Dallas. They've been out in the streets, been doing tons of social media content and partnerships with some famous faces, Kyle Martino and Patrice Evra amongst them. And so we were curious what kind of level they're going to gin up and what they would do to curate the experience of a brand new expansion team in a lower league, but in a, very much a huge building meant for the hugest games in American football. And over the weekend, or recently at the very least, Atletico Dallas announced how they're going to open their stadium in 2027. And it looks like they are going to keep it to the lower bowl with a 17,000 capacity.
The stadium holds 92,000 people.
Wowza.
You can call it seven. They're keeping it to one side. This is my reading of this, and maybe we do need to talk to Atletico Dallas directly and see what they're, see them explain this a little bit more. This is the best we could find, right? This is their Instagram post with renderings. I mean, I don't know that these are artists' renderings. I think these may be through some technological mechanism to give us a sense of what it's going to look like. But and it's small there, right? Where it says inaugural season stadium capacity 17,000. So what's 92,000 minus 17, Rob? Can you do that math quickly?
It's something like a
75,000 empty seats is the bare minimum of empty seats. Because I'll tell you what, and again, I like talking to Sam Morton. We met him out in New Mexico. We had some conversations with him on the show. You can go find those in our archives. Sam Morton of Atletico Dallas, one of the founders. We talked to both their founders, and we talked to Kyle Martino. 17,000 is awfully ambitious for a USL Championship side in their first year.
17,000?
17,000 is a lot of people at that level. How many USL championship sides draw 17,000, Rob? How many would
I
you get?
think none. I think
I don't-
there isn't any. Louisville has like what a 13,000 person stadium. New Mexico, Detroit averages 7. I think that the highest average attendances are just at the the 5 figures, right? The low 5 figures.
There are a couple of teams who do better than 5 figures on average, I think, or have in the past. Actually, I'm looking at this year's numbers per transfer market, and Sacramento leads the way with an average of 97.43. Then you've got Louisville at 92.61. Yes, 9,261 people, 8,785 people, right? So again, like, you're not only saying we're taking a 92,000 capacity stadium and limiting it to 17,000 tickets possibly distributed, sold, seats filled. We are also making our capacity big enough. But this may be part of getting ready for USL Premier or some other, or they just may want to, like, well, we don't want to limit ourselves to 10 because, who knows, we might do better. I understand that, but they are aiming high, and they're doing it in a building that is going to be a cavern. Like, it's going to feel empty. I don't know. I've seen some renderings, right? They showed us some of the stuff they want to do to tarp off areas. I will go through these images on Instagram. That's a shot of the supporters end, which is where they expect their supporters to be. And that's thousands of people in this rendering, right? That's thousands of people. And I don't know that there are a lot of USL championship sides that have thousands of people in their supporters end. I want them to succeed. I want them to succeed. This is just really big. It's a huge swing, Rob. It's a huge swing.
Yeah, 17,000. Yeah, put that in context. I mean, we saw Oakland Roots have a couple one-off games in bigger stadium where they sold, I think, 20,000 or so. But that was for the season opener, and there was a significant drop-off of the following week. So maybe, I mean, they're hyping up their opening game, and I think they have a buy your ticket event kind of coming up, a buy your seat for season tickets and whatnot. But I mean, that allows them a lot of room to grow, shall we say?
Yeah,
and,
look,
and it is swinging for the fences to get 17, but to get that would be a challenge
there's
too.
that
But
thing about, like,
they've laid a lot of groundwork to their credit, but
hold on, Rob. We have no measure of that. I know they're doing work, absolutely, and I think they, from what I can tell, doing things in a way that is encouraged. Like, the things they're doing feel right. It's a feeling, right? And I know they've had some numbers come out for events that they've held, and they've got some initial reaction, and we've chronicled some of this stuff. But there's no way for you and I to know that groundwork is going to beget them 10, 12, 15, 17,000 people in a building that, let's be honest, is not suited to them. It's not suited to them. I understand the thinking that it went into, well, we were aiming for a suburban location. The stadium didn't get built. That thing fell apart. The city of Dallas has the Cotton Bowl, and they would let us play in the Cotton Bowl. Remember that FC Dallas played in the Cotton Bowl as the Burn years and years and years ago, and that was not where they wanted to be.
Burn.
So, that thing about, like, they took the good deal for them to get off the ground because I'm sure because otherwise the Cotton Bowl wouldn't have any dates anyway. And I think they just refurbished the Cotton Bowl. So there's something to that. But it's still an American football stadium built, 90 years ago or whatever, that holds 92,000 people for second division soccer. And even if USL Premier happens, that is still a second tier of first division soccer in America. Right. And I mean, again, like, I wanted to succeed. Maybe that part about the financial elements working in their favor because it's the Cotton Bowl is the most important thing here, regardless of what the atmosphere looks like. But you and I also come from worlds where the atmosphere sells the game, right? The crowd, the songs, the culture sells the game, gets people in the door because they want to be part of it. Is the Cotton Bowl going to be a good advertisement for Atletico Dallas in the USL Championship and USL Premier when it has this many people in a 92,000 seat stadium?
I think if you have a selective lens, you could do so. But yeah, if you had some wide angle photographs, or if you're sitting on the one full side and you're looking out at the other and it's stark empty, which if they just fill that one side as is the plan,
I mean,
that
look,
that,
look
that
at,
definitely
again,
puts a
look at these
damper on
images.
things. But at the same time, maybe we're spelling it a little bit negative. That maybe if we go with what has come before it and the numbers they can expect based on other teams, but I guess we have to allow them also the chance that this becomes a cultural phenomenon
Yes.
there in Dallas,
Sure.
and
Sure.
it catches on like wildfire because it's a little bit of counter programming. I know they don't like to address that they are going head to head with FC Dallas, but maybe they are the alternative to that team that's away from the city center, and it truly does become Dallas's team. We got to allow them the possibility to that. But with what we know so far, and with the way the landscapes looks, that might not be the most likely of outcomes. I mean, if they're able to average 15,000 fans through a whole season, that would be a huge success at
Yes,
that level, right? So
yes, it would. Yes. Yeah. Well, okay. The number would represent success.
yeah,
Right. And there are some people in the chat, Riverside Grove, extend the upper deck as a roof, close everything else. I mean, obviously, like if you could completely refurbish the Cotton Bowl and make it a smaller stadium and make it work for Atletico Dallas, yeah, great. But that's not going to happen. Again, they don't own it, right? They are clearly renting it. And I saw Andy, not a ultra, but Andy said, maybe this is going to work out money-wise for them because it's otherwise empty, the stadium, and they're probably getting a good deal. And yeah, that's what I was saying. Like they probably are getting a good deal from the city of Dallas to play games in that stadium. And from the lower division startup soccer team perspective, and this is not a club that's got a billionaire behind it, right? I don't think it's a club with 100 millionaire behind it. Right. We know that the rules have changed around the principal owner and net worth and things. And I'm sure they're spreading the wealth in terms of investment. But just like every other club at their level, the margins are extremely fine. If there are margins, like they might be operating in the red for a while. So again, if it's like, oh, we have a low cost stadium option, but it's massive and doesn't fit our sport or doesn't fit our potential audience versus finding a way to build a stadium that does fit them, but is maybe not centrally located or doesn't, this is give and take. This is pros and cons. And clearly what they've decided is ultimately this is the right move for them. And we wish them the best. We absolutely do.
Yeah, and hopefully we do get Sam or someone else on in the approaching months to talk about that and see what how their pros and cons kind of played out when they were considering their venue. And there's some points in here to Soccer Night in Detroit saying the Silverdome was way too big for the Express. 26,000 was their best for an 80,000 seater. So that's kind of a parallel kind of sizing situation as what we're talking about. And then also it's kind of like a programming note. John Stark, if you said the badge is growing on you, probably our best conversation, or my favorite conversation, is when we actually had the artist who came up with the concept and drew that crest out. If you look at the Countdown to Kickoff Atletico Dallas playlist on our Morning Kick Around channel, you can find that conversation. And it really was a fascinating look of the concept and in the process of actually bringing it to reality. So we'll follow the story of Atletico Dallas and how they progress towards their 2027 launch. We're going to talk a little bit later on the show. We're going to detail what's needed and what the correspondent drafts is all about on Wednesday. Jason might sound off a little bit in a bonus members only segment, so become a member if you're not. But an impromptu segment coming up next. We're going to talk about MLS ratings next up here on Monday's Morning Kick Around. Welcome back in here, Morning Kick Around. I'm Robert. He's Jason. And by request of the Ultras, we're going to bring up a story about MLS's ratings in 2026 through the first 3 months and how they've fared now that there isn't the extra MLS package on Apple. Games are now just straight up on Apple TV, and reporting says it's been a positive move.
Yeah,
Viewer-wise, at least.
62% is what MLS says viewership is up. MLS matches have averaged 62% more viewers through the first 3 months of its season compared to last year, the league said on Friday, with all games now available on Apple TV, including viewership via international distribution and linear partners. The league said it averaged 7.9 million live match viewers per week heading into its World Cup break. Now, it wasn't that long ago, Rob, that we heard Don Garber say, yeah, we got a million viewers across our schedule in a weekend or on a match day, on a Saturday or whatever. And like, oh, that's, a million. Okay. But you spread across 20 games or whatever it is, 15 games. Is that a lot per game? It's clearly not. But I think obviously the idea was, oh yeah, but collectively that's still pretty good, because if we had a game on national television and we got a million, we would feel pretty good about that. So remember, as you said, the key part here is, you said it, right? That this is no longer behind the paywall of MLS season pass.
No, it's no longer there, and more people have just the straight up Apple TV, obviously, so it's available to more folks. And I still think that regardless of it being on Apple TV or behind the paywall or the separate package, I think this TV deal, and one of the questions that spurred this segment on was, what do you think MLS should do with their TV deal when this expires in 2 years as is? And I think it comes down to almost a philosophical question. Will American executives and TV executives realize that soccer and viewership of it might be more akin to baseball, where people are only really interested in the local team, rather than an NFL sort of a viewpoint where people like their home team and take in it on a national scope? And I think that's where they're at odds between. They were on local broadcasters, and there was some quality issues and QC that wasn't like major league, but people got attached to their broadcasters and some familiarity. Then it moved to kind of a national viewpoint. And I don't know if you can get millions and millions of folks to watch a team that's not theirs.
Yeah, I mean, there's that is still an overarching question. Now, the sports has moved to this model more than just, MLS is a league that has been more local than it's been nationally focused. Clearly, I do think there's always going to be that question, but I also don't think that means you don't put all of your games in one package and deliver it this way, because I think that's what people expect in 2026. And the regional sports net has completely died.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? You can't go back to a regional and local model. There's no way back, Rob. What do you?
This might be a little bit of an aside, but local teams are starting to get terrestrial TV packages, like the Detroit Pistons. They are now going to be on like the local TV 20. So there might be a little bit of
but you do that in addition to your national package, right? I mean, like I think there could be a hybrid thing that MLS does, and they kind of did that for a long time, right? Direct Kick and MLS, whatever it was called back when I had it, MLS
Season
Live
Pass?
or whatever it was.
MLS Live, yeah.
It was called MLS Live, and that was just streaming packages that would take the stream from the locals and package them all together for people who are out of market, and you could then watch them. I mean, that's not even hybrid. That's the old way. This way of nationalizing everything. And by the way, this is also about cutting down on costs for production, right? Because it costs a lot of money. And if you want a quality standard, this is one thing. There is one reason MLS went to this, right? They said to all the teams, let your local deals lapse. We're bringing everything in house, because they wanted a quality standard that the locals weren't meeting. And now you're also in an era of VAR and video replay and review. And if you're going to be a legitimate soccer league in 2026, if you're going to measure up to what people expect when they watch the Premier League or La Liga or whatever, if you're going to be in that category, at least in terms of how your product is presented, you've got to have the 14 cameras, and you got to have the ultra high def, and you've got to have all of those things. And the other part of it, again, like in terms of broadcasting cost, is that everybody, we talked about this with Tyler Terrence on Friday. Go back and listen to that conversation, because Tyler talked about he's almost more comfortable calling a game off a monitor than in person, because he was raised as a broadcaster calling games off a monitor, because that's the way things have moved. Now, I don't like it. I don't like it, Rob. I don't like big games being called off a monitor, but there are legitimate financial reasons why organizations are moving to that. Major League Soccer did that. I don't know your thoughts on in-person versus monitor, but I don't know that we're putting that genie back in the bottle either.
Well, I always introduce myself as the local soccer guy. So my heart of hearts is the broadcaster is there. And part of why the commentator is even a necessary part of a broadcast is to have someone giving you context of what is going on. So my contention between the commentator watching it off a monitor or being there is he's just seeing just about everything that I'm seeing watching at home. So he's just talking along with watching the TV. But in the traditional sense of the broadcasters being on location, they can provide color, feel the atmosphere, and be the voice of the person that is there experiencing the sporting event. Because I'm at home, I don't know. I mean, I can watch a game on mute and know as much as what's going on as someone watching on the monitor. I'm definitely pro putting people in the stadium, but part of Tyler Terran's story was he was commentating on things that probably has no budget to send anyone there, or if they hired someone locally, they couldn't guarantee the quality. So I understand why it's there. Like he said, he started doing, like D3 college teams, and then he moved up to doing kind of obscure CONCACAF competitions. So yeah, are you going to send a whole crew for a midweek qualifying game to Guatemala and all that stuff, or to far-flung places in a country that's that big? But if there's enough planning, enough importance to the event, I am all for the broadcaster being
big time ones, obviously, like we had
and if I could finish with the MLS point with the Apple TV bringing home here is the games aren't spontaneous. This is league games that's planned out on an advance. I think they should be able to put people on location if this is a set plan that's laid out for a number of years in this contract.
Well, the schedule's not laid out for a number of years,
but it's not going to surprise you. Like MLS is still happening next year. You should be.
But again, it's quality. It's a quality control element, and there's I mean, again, like I agree with you. I would like them to do that. At the same time, if that means sacrificing a level of quality, I don't know if I want that. It's a tough thing. In terms of what happens next for MLS on television, I don't really have a sense of that. And maybe we bring Simon Evans and some people that work on the soccer business side of things to talk about this, because the Apple TV deal is up in 2 years. You would expect Lionel Messi to have ridden off into the sunset by then. MLS will be 30 teams deep, potentially more as they look at expansion. Who knows? I know the argument is they're just doing that to, pay back the old owners, and it's all a pyramid scheme. But they're going to have a product that is kind of moderately attractive because it's still sports inventory, and that has value. There's going to be lots of games available. You don't want to do what the NWSL is doing, which is piecemeal out your package so that nobody knows where a game is happening, and you got to have 4 different subscriptions to watch NWSL. I don't think that's the move. Is there a deal where they can get one of the streaming platforms to give them enough money to make it worth their while to put everything in one place? I don't know. And will that be, I mean, Netflix is moving into live sports. Is that something MLS can leverage? I really don't have a sense of that, Rob.
To finish my point from earlier, though, I wasn't necessarily talking about leaning on local broadcasters for the MLS Apple package. I was saying that they could lay it out ahead.
I didn't say you were. I don't think
Apple could.
But that's that's a big expense. Get people. What do you mean? Get people locally?
Like they're for the MLS Apple package, but they are able to get people on scene all the time rather than being in studio. That was my point. Is if the product production levels are elevated, I think they should be able to coordinate on site at that level if it is.
But that's a massive production. Like a live television broadcast from a stadium is a massive production. If you have your cameras are static and they stay there all the time, and you're not moving them because you're broadcasting all the games the same way, and you're just tying your broadcasters into those cameras, then that's much simpler and much more cost effective than flying your broadcasters out, putting cameras in a booth, setting up a booth audio system, and all this. And the stadiums are wired for that. Don't get me wrong. But you're still talking about it. And I know we were doing it for years and years and years. I'm not saying that this is something new for them. But again, I think MLS is seeing this as, and again, they're going to be more attractive to the platform to the streamers, to the companies that might buy their rights, if they can say this is plug and play. You're not footing you're not footing the bill on any of these costs, because that's what MLS did. They brought all their production in-house. Now they've outsourced this to some London company. But man, again, it's just more complicated than it used to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, fair enough. But I guess to kind of summarize and finish off this topic, it would appear per MLS that viewership is well up, as is on Apple TV rather than the MLS specific package.
We have it. By the way, are we throwing a blanket over that and saying that's basically just down to getting rid of MLS season pass as its own standalone product, and this is just now Apple TV viewers are finding MLS?
I think we could view it that way, but I'm also putting a huge asterisk because it's self-reporting and it only benefits MLS to show number go up because of the change. And, like all streaming platforms, they don't actually release the real numbers. They're just like, it went up. Here's some number that we have.
Yeah. Eddie Q talking about 45 million subscriptions on Apple TV. That's what they're saying, right? Or saying that Apple has not released subscriber numbers, though last year SVP Eddie Q said the company had quote unquote significantly more than the previously estimated 45 million subs. They're saying they have way more than 45 million. And if MLS, if they had 45 and MLS was getting nearly 7 million, nearly 8 million viewers per week. And how do you count those? Every time I switch games, am I a new viewer or am I one viewer watching multiple games? Right. And I do the quad box on MLS season or on MLS's Apple TV. Sometimes I'm watching 4 games at once. How is that counted?
Are you 4 viewers if you're watching the quad box?
Am I Severance? And I'm 4 different people at the exact same time.
Or if you're one boxing, jumping back and forth, are you counting every single click and all of that? Yeah. I mean, those numbers could mean a variety of things. And we are running a little bit long, but I'm glad that we were able to address a viewer question. But before we get to bonus segment with Jason, I do want to talk through the morning kick around World Cup correspondent draft. That's set for Wednesday. And we kind of want to talk that through. Yeah, it's in the Discord. So the voting is on the announcements thread in the Discord. And because we want to make this as interactive and kind of a collective effort, and there's no way for us to cover all of this, the biggest World Cup, the biggest tournament ever. We have the World Cup correspondence draft, and we wanted to get a little bit of input, assign groups on Wednesday for those who threw their hat in the ring to cover a group, because there's 12 groups of 4. And if we could get some kind of a cultural context of this country, and just a little bit of input that you put a little bit of yourself into it, and then we can use it on the show. So we've got a little bit of feedback, and I kind of want to hear your thoughts, Jason, and what you'd like to get from the correspondents that would not only bring them into the fold for the coverage, but also we can use here in a practical way.
Yeah, look, we're not breaking every game down tactically on Morning Kick Around. That's not who we are. It's not who we want to be, I don't think. I mean, we're going to talk about games and fun moments and the balance of the tournament as it moves forward and what the groups look like. I think we're going to do some of that. And we're going to respond to what's happening on the field, sure. But I want our ultras, our supporters to be able to engage with this how they want to. And some people are saying that they aren't interested in the World Cup at all. That's your prerogative, right? And we're going to still have things on Morning Kick Around through the World Cup period that will appeal to you if you don't care about the World Cup. But why not make this more fun and interesting and educational for us in a broader than soccer kind of way, or in a soccer way that is not specifically about, hey, the national team of this country is in this country and we only care about their games. Tell me about the league structure of the countries that you're covering. Tell me about their soccer culture and where it comes from and some of their heroes. And maybe, do they go when they go to the game? What kind of what kind of meat and side bread do they eat at the soccer match or at the football match? Like, what is what kind of music accompanies the games? I mean, how does support work in that country? Like, those are the things that sometimes we have no clue about when a team arrives on our shores, if they're not one of the most celebrated soccer countries in the world, which, lots of these countries are not, Rob.
And also some like news clippings, like how is that country talking about their team as they set sail for their adventure over here? That could be some interesting information. But some folks, I saw some questions in the Discord. Are we looking for written submissions or for some faces that pop up?
I don't care. I really don't. You want to write a report and we'll read it on the air and we'll share the information you give us? Absolutely, that's your prerogative. You want to make a clip and we play it? You want to be a guest on the show? Let us know. I'm happy to do that. Like I want this to be completely open to however you want to engage with the process of giving us a little bit of diving in and learning about us. Like Rob and I went to Pawtucket, Rhode Island. We went to the Cape Verde Museum, and we had a guy telling us a little bit about the sporting culture of Cape Verde and the community that they're in Rhode Island. And I'm thinking, I don't know anything about soccer in Cape Verde. I know nothing about soccer in Cape. How do they play? Where do they play? Who's their biggest club? There's 9 inhabited islands, Rob. Is there a team on every island? Like, I have no idea of that. Like, I would love to know more about that.
Yeah, and their country is celebrating wholeheartedly. We actually saw a little bit of footage of the reaction of their qualification, and that the only direct flight from Cape Verde is to Providence, Rhode Island. But so Wednesday, the 3rd, we are doing the Ultra Draft. So the names that have been submitted on the poll, and you can also submit via email if you're an Ultra and not in the Discord. Throw your name into the hat of wanting to be in the draft, and we are going to put your names on a spinning wheel or a randomizer, and then that name will be picked, and you can pick the group that you would like. And then so there's 12 options out there, and so if we get 12 names, everyone's going to get one. But if we get more, obviously maybe
if we don't get 12 names, Rob has to get like 3 groups, and that's a lot of work for Rob. So you guys have to step up.
Yeah, I mean, I love this sport. I'm covering it here locally in my backyard. Obviously, we're looking at it nationally, talking about what's going on across the country, and then this huge gluttony of World Cup games is inbound, and we want to make it as fun for everybody, and we want to bring unique news and notes. If I already know there's about a half a dozen, I think between 7 and 10 folks have already thrown their name in the hat to do this, and they are going to bring some different points, and we're going to provide some unique content because every single soccer channel is going to have some sort of form of World Cup coverage. We want to bring it in an authentic morning kick around way, and that is with the help and the working together of the MK Ultras and the vast variety of knowledge bases and locations and what you want to contribute. So get in the announcements section of the Morning Kick Around Discord server. Vote yes, you're in, or email us at morningkickaround@gmail.com to get your name in the MK Ultra Correspondence Draft happening on Wednesday's show.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go. Yeah, but there we go. I love it. That's great. Such a good idea.
All right. So we're going to go into bonus mode for MK Ultras here in a minute. And so glad to have you on board. We covered a lot of great topics today. We'll be back on Wednesday with even more morning kick around and the correspondence draft. But Jason has something he wants to sound off about as we're in the run
get something
into
off my chest. Yeah,
he's got something on his chest, and I feel like I don't know exactly what he's going to say, but I have some thoughts in general too of what's already gotten under my skin. So we'll see what Jason's got. What's our countdown to bonus time?
17 seconds, Rob. So we're gonna hit that end of show and get going here.
All right, if you're not a member yet, do so now. But if not, you choose not to be, we will see you on Wednesday. So until then, everybody, enjoy your soccer. Welcome back. This is Morning